Wham! Talk 1600. You're catching the drift. Conservative talk. Intelligent conversations on local, state, and national issues with Gary Wellings, chief editor of the Current newspaper and Current Online. Join in the conversation at 734-822-1600. And now, your host, Gary Wellings.
And good Saturday afternoon. Thanks for tuning in to catch our drift. Joining me in studio, Ipsy Ed Bonderenka.
Is this thing on?
I don't know. You sounded good last week. I don't know what you're talking about. Well, thank you for tuning in and listening to The Drift. What we do every week is talk about the news that we put on thedailydrift.com. It's
the news you need to know.
Thank you very much. And we got a lot to get to today. Some great news. I'm calling it a win this week for the good guys. But before we get to all 3.
Uh-oh. What'd I miss?
SCOTUS last night approved the wall.
Yes.
The Guatemala deal.
Oh, I forgot about the Guatemala. You're absolutely right then.
And then the Mueller disaster for them. They
can
spin it any way they want.
Mueller victory.
It was a victory. Yes, absolutely. But let's take care of a little business before we get into things here. AAA Service Network, whether you need water heater, plumbing, appliance, softeners, air conditioning, heating, furnace, you name it, sump pumps, AAA Service Network has all the guys, material, and equipment needed to help you out. Give them a call at 810-226-0047. That's 810-226-0047. Tell them Gary and Ed sent you, and talk to Ed when you're there, not our Ed, their Ed, and they'll help you out, man. And if you want coupons, there are a lot of coupons in the Current.
Oh, yeah, valuable coupons.
Yeah, COURANTonline.com, currentonline.com. It's probably the only conservative newspaper around, if you ask me.
What's that, $100 off, $300 off,
yeah.
$20 off?
$300 off a water softener, $500 off a new AC heating system, up to $500 off. So some great stuff, currentonline.com. Okay, so we're going to start. We've mentioned it a few times in the last month. We've got guest calling in, Keith Felty, author and lawyer, of America the Happy, a great little read. It's not a thick book, so it won't take you forever to get through. And
I did it this morning.
What? Well, you could. I mean, literally, if you sit down and do it, yes, you can. And so we're welcoming author of America the Happy, Keith Felty. Keith, welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks a lot for having me. I appreciate it. Yeah. So you and I met through Twitter, and for those of you who aren't on Twitter, why don't you give us your Twitter handle, Keith? Anti-establishment. I started it in 2016. When you're a lawyer and you represent clients, sometimes people don't like your political views. And I've learned over the last 2 years that I don't care about that anymore.
Yeah, well, it's funny. I think I was laughing last week. For the longest time, I thought you were a lady because it is A-N-N-T, capital T, establishment. So I was like,
well,
hey,
there's nothing wrong with that. In this day and age, it doesn't matter anymore. It depends on what you want to call yourself, right?
Yes, you can identify as anything
as long as you're happy.
You want to. So I want to give a little preface because we're going to have you talk about the book. And while I'm going to let you do that part, I'm just going to give the little bio. You were a downriver guy like me, born in Wyandotte, grew up in Trenton, and then went to Michigan State and got an undergraduate degree in political science and then a law degree from Wayne State. Wayne State's a good law school.
Oh, Wayne State's good law. Yeah, he's got that going for him.
And he's a state guy.
Like I said, well, you know.
Go green. And 2 sons that go there. Well, one just graduated from there a couple of years ago and is a law student at UAD now, and then my other son is still at Michigan State, so that's exciting. My wife divides the household because she's a U of M person.
Oh,
there's that redeeming value.
Now.
I don't hate U of M. I prefer State because I'm the same. I got a daughter who's going there. I've got nephews and nieces have all gone there, so I'm kind of partial to State as opposed to the Wolverines anyway. But so let's you sent me a little bio there of how you decided to do this book, but I'm going to let you tell it because I think it's a good story. So why don't you tell us about the premise of America the Happy?
It started in my mind as a simple reminder that the pursuit of happiness is an unalienable right protected in America, and it's kind of the connection between how an individual can act and how they can go about making a great family, community, and ultimately a great country. And I think that the founders not only wanted to protect that right, but they chose to write it in the Declaration of Independence as almost like a prescription for how people should act.
Yeah, and I'll say this too. When you sent me the book, and you the very first lines, I'm like, I never thought about. You think about the life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and then it kind of dawned on me that is kind of odd for a government thing to say. Pursuit of happiness.
He avoided saying pursuit of property like Locke did, and I'd heard that was because of the slavery issue, because of the contention of the slavery issue.
Yeah.
Because
it might be. I mean, you know, there is intellectual property when you think about people's rights and patent law and so forth. But I look at it as more as if you're talking about people in 1776 and you're talking about property, are they going to be thinking about their ideas, or are they going to be thinking about whether or not they own stuff and own land? Yeah. And it wouldn't apply to probably 90% of the people back at that time. So by using words like that, Locke also said pursuit of happiness, but by including pursuit of happiness, to me, it encompasses everybody and everything and every act. So no matter what you're doing in life, this is something that can't be taken away from you because you create them in your own mind. It's not stuff that somebody can come in and take from you, whether it's guns or whatever in this day and age. So we get so lost in talking about the Constitution all the time, which is the rules of the game that politicians like to fall back on, but they forget about what created the country, and the Constitution would have never existed if this document and mindset didn't come first.
Well, I've heard Dr. Larry Arns say that, you know, the Declaration is the foundation for the Constitution, that they're twin documents. And legally, the Supreme Court only goes back to the Constitution, but if you understand constitutional law, you know that rests on the Declaration. And I like your argument for pursuit of happiness. Don't get me wrong. I like it the way you laid it out in the book.
I just, in the word pursuit, too, you don't have a right to be happy or a right to happiness. You can't go down to a store and buy a bottle of pursuit of happiness, even though a lot of people try to do it that way. It compels people to act, and it means doing something and taking action. So, you know, it rests in the individual. Right. You can't compel people to do it. No one can stop you from doing it.
Yeah, so it's the right to try, really, is what it is, right?
That's right.
Begs the question, what is happiness?
Exactly, because for you and I, we may want to have a home and a house and a boat. Other people may want to live in a van and travel the country, right? Or maybe they want to hike the country or live out in the backwoods and have nothing. Whatever floats your boat, right? It's America.
There's a concept in the Bible, and although Keith doesn't really refer to it directly, he does refer to a lot of scriptural elements. But there's a verse that says, godliness with contentment is great gain. And I think basically it says if you can get rid of avarice, if you can get rid of the pursuit of property, and you can pursue the stuff in life that actually makes you happy, which few people, they think it's pursuing, like you said, property, getting things more, that will make you happy. And that's not what makes you happy. Happy is a frame of mind.
Yeah. That's right. The things that make you happy are the things that end up not costing anything. That's the irony of it, is the things that are the most expensive and people look at as costing the most are the things that they pursue instead of pursuing the things that don't cost anything, which end up being the most valuable in your life. So that's kind of the background of the reason why I wrote the book. And when you read, I think others like Napoleon Hill and some of the folks that were the self-help book people, they talked about these things in the same way. Even though it was all couched in becoming rich and wealth and so forth, this concept really is about far more than talking about money or stuff. And I agree exactly with what you're saying. It's about Aristotle's idea that at the end of your lifetime, have you built up a 401k of good moral behavior and pursuing values, which, you know, some people may not agree with your values and some people do. But the point is, do you have that contentment, and have you lived a life that was positive? And that's what the book is about.
Well, speaking of pursuit of things, have you ever seen the movie Key Largo?
I don't think so.
Humphrey Bogart.
Okay. It's a Humphrey Bogart movie. Yeah. I want to play a clip.
I know it, but I haven't watched it.
I want to play. It's a great movie. I want to play a clip from it for you. Derek, would you play the Rocco clip?
Well, listen, soldier. Thousands of guys got guns, but there's only one Johnny Rocco.
How do you account for it? Well, he knows what he wants. Don't you, Rocco?
Sure.
What's that? Tell him, Rocco.
Well, I want,
He wants more. Don't you, Rocco?
Yeah, that's it. More. That's right, I want more.
Will you ever get enough? Will you, Rocco?
Well, I never have. No, I guess I won't. Do you know what you want?
Yes, and I had hopes once, but I gave them up.
Hopes for what?
A world in which there's no place for Johnny Rocco.
Okay, soldier.
I want more.
I want more, yeah.
I want more.
Will you ever get enough?
Yeah,
Never have.
Well, so let me ask, when we go back to the pursuit of happiness and trying, right? If you're a fisherman, yes, you like to catch the fish, take the fish home, eat the fish. But I think most of them would admit it's the pursuit that's what they get the enjoyment out of. Right?
Yeah, it's trying to get the fish, right?
Trying to get the fish. If
The
I'm a
journey.
hunter,
The journey
it's
is
the journey. Yes, that's what it is. It's that it's pursuit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and when you get home and you eat the fish 2 months later, are you going to remember the fish, or are you going to remember the conversations and the laughs and jokes you had with your buddies while you're doing the fishing?
Exactly.
Or the sunset or sunrise, whatever you're doing at the time if you're by yourself.
Yeah. I always say, you know what, when you leave the world, you can't take anything with you but your memories, the pursuits, what you did, your experiences. And so I the book really opened for me, and it made me, and we're going to talk a little more about this as well. So you kind of like to, with America being divided and all the Democrats always dividing, what do you think the real division is?
That's the other point of the book, is I think that you can, if you're going to group people anyway and put all these false labels on people, the way I grouped them is the people that are unhappy tend to be the ones that are trying to resist everything, and the happy people are the ones that want to keep America or conserve America, whether you want to call them conservatives or whatever, who conserve individualism and want individual actions of each person to matter and not grouping people into classes. So my point is that most of the divide is just between happy and unhappy people, and the unhappy always want to drag more people into their group, so to speak, while the happy people just want to live their own lives as individuals. So I think, if you got more people to think like that, as that grows, power goes back more to the individual and the person in this country rather into the foolish groups and arguments that are being made nowadays and have been made all throughout history. It's not just America. This book is about America, though.
Gary gave me your book a couple weeks ago in the studio, and I left here and I went to my grandson's graduation party, and I met a friend of my son, a gentleman about my age. He's a mentor to my son, a businessman, and he and I started talking. I'd met him before, and we started talking, and man, it's almost like he was quoting your book to me. And I asked him, did you read this book? He says, no. I says, because from what little I've looked at this and what from Gary told me, he's talking about, there are people who just want to be happy, and there's people who just want to be angry. There's people who, I'm thinking of the Joker. Remember what Bruce Wayne's butler Albert said to him? Some men just want to watch the world burn.
Yep.
Some people want to burn it down, and they won't be happy sitting in the ashes either. Nothing will ever make them happy, but they're not satisfied the way it is. But it's not a tweaking that they want to do to America. It's not they make these little minor improvements. They want to tear it all down because they don't like it. They think they'll be happy elsewise.
Yeah, I like the fact that you call it. It's not a self-help manual. It's a self-hope manual kind of thing that you've got here. And the other thing, besides all the just basic common sense that's in here, you'll open your eyes and go, oh yeah. I can't tell you how many times I thought that as I was reading it. But then it made me really open myself and take a self-introspection. And I looked at my life at work, because I'm not always happy at my job, right? And I thought to myself, I'm spreading the misery. I'm one of those people. And so since I've read the book, I have, when people, hey, Gary, how you doing? I'm like, instead of, whatever, I'm surviving. For the